What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So there is still some debate in the community about whether or not David Lade could be natural. Honestly, I don't know why this is still a conversation, but he continues to perpetrate that he is natural. There is this clip that I'm going to show from this Kenny KO video, and he was interviewing people on the spot about whether they were natural, and he asked David, and it's just kind of sus, so we'll just watch it real quick.
It's been a long time coming. Natty or not? Are you still natural?
David is so sus in this.
You can drug test me if you like.
Good answer. Good answer.
I feel like that's
Sarm
kind of
anything
a,
ever?
kind of a tool answer.
Scary.
He denies SARMs.
I don't know your contract, and I've talked to a lot of people who are under contract can't talk about.
And then Kenny goes into talking about the Gymshark contract, which I will touch on later. But to talk about his stats a little bit, David is supposedly 6'3". That's what he says. I don't know about that. I've seen him standing next to Chris Bumstead. I know Bumstead is 6'1". That seems a little excessive to me. Other people assume 6'1" or 6'2". He's definitely tall. His transformation video that went viral on YouTube, like when he kind of was first getting big, he starts his transformation in the high 90s. I think he was like 98 pounds. From 98 to 190 pounds. So absolutely massive numbers. I mean, like almost 100 pounds gained. Side note, it's kind of funny that people will talk about their fitness transformations and then they'll reference when they were like 12 as the starting point. And I mean, these kids are not even hitting puberty. They're barely hitting puberty, and then they start to do like a fit transformation and they're putting on insane amounts of weight, and you know, it's just like, dude, you're just hitting puberty. You got more tests in your body than you ever will for the rest of your life. So I think that he was insanely young when he was weighing in the 90s, but either way, people will basically say that he's juicing purely based off of his deadlift numbers. He does have a video of him pulling over 675. He's got some insane numbers. His squat is apparently 455. His bench is 390. So just mad strong. For a little bit of reference, I'm a natural that's been at this for about 5 years. I'm 183-ish, 185, and I'm 6'1", and I can squat 365, bench 255, and deadlift 465. So this kid has got me beat by almost 200 pounds on all of his lifts except bench. You know, anybody that's been training for any time at all knows that that is just an absolutely massive margin for somebody that is claiming to be natural. But I think the most important thing when you're asking about it, whether someone's natural or not, or whether they've been lying about being natural, would be to ask what the incentive would be to lie. And I think in David's case, it's about as night and day as any other athlete could possibly be, because Gymshark is an interesting company to work for, from what I understand. These guys that are working under the Gymshark label are essentially told to stay quiet about their use if they are using. You know, it makes sense. This is a larger clothing company. There's young people that buy the clothes. It's a very influential company, so it would make sense that these guys would not want their athletes to say anything about using what is essentially like a class 3 illegal drug. And allegedly some athletes have been punished and or let go from Gymshark, from what I read about similar allocations, rumors coming out, and or them actually coming forward and saying it themselves. So I think the real villain here, as far as the natty or not thing goes and the fake natty thing, is the companies that these guys work for that are pushing them to not say anything about it. You know, and a little reference here to basically drive home the fact that he is definitely cycling something would be that his friends basically all came out and said they were cycling. Ryan Casey admitted to using, and then Dylan came out. Dylan even went so far as to say that everyone in high school was using. You know, to say that Dylan and Ryan would both have been using and that David was for some reason not makes absolutely no sense. So he is literally just being incentivized by the company to stay quiet about it at this point. It's obvious that it's still giving people false hope, though, because this conversation is still happening and people are still out here wondering, could this be possible? Could you be natural and look like this and make these kind of gains? He has arguably one of the craziest skinny guy body transformations that's on the internet right now, and it's been very influential to a lot of young guys. I mean, it's awesome that that happens, but these guys need to be realistic about what's going to happen with their transformation, because it's certainly not going to be anything like David's if they're not willing to cycle something. I think it's safe to assume that David is cycling, not year-round necessarily, but to keep the strength up and to stay as lean as he does. I think it would be only right to assume that he would be on something like clenbuterol or something that can aid in him keeping such low body fat percentage year-round. Definitely not an insanely heavy cycle, and I would agree, I think that the insanity of some of his heavier lifts are reason enough to believe that he could be on steroids in some way, shape, or form. I just want to say one more thing, which is that I feel like I want to be the person that touches on the fact that PEDs and steroid use, it's not necessarily inherently wrong, but it's definitely not something that needs to be done. I want to be somebody that continues to say that on this channel as the subject continues to come up. Kind of a nice little tidbit to remember as far as natural bodybuilding goes is that you can be huge if you want, but you won't necessarily be shredded, and you can be shredded if you want, but you won't necessarily be huge. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I also think that I want to continue to be a proponent and preach the longevity aspect. We're in this for the long haul. There are people that are fit into their 50s and 60s right now. It's totally doable if you just keep your head in the game. You know, if you're going to compete and you want to get to a certain level on stage when you're in your prime and you want to use PEDs, that is perfect. If you want to do that and that's where what your goal is and you want to get on stage and just blow people's minds, there's nothing wrong at all with cycling PEDs. But if you're in this for the long haul and you want to just be fit to be fit and there's really no desire to be on stage and be a stage presence that blows people's minds, I don't see it as being necessary. I definitely think you can make pretty substantial gains without it. And I just think that's something that you should always keep in mind. So don't let guys like David Lade make you think that you need to take steroids. And also understand that his transformation was pretty quick. Yours may not be, but you can do in 5 to 10 years what he did in 2 to 3. It's just about patience. It's all about patience. It will always be about patience when it comes to fitness. You gotta be patient with your diet. You gotta be patient with the workouts. Don't try to jump into anything too quickly. Don't try to rush into things. Get things dialed in, understand your body, and you can make really, really crazy gains without PEDs if that is your goal. So today I'm hitting arms and I'm gonna focus in on biceps. Biceps are a very simple muscle to hit. I think there can be a lot of confusion on that because you're gonna see so many different videos about different spider curls and preacher curls and all kinds of different ways to do a curl. But in reality, it's a very simple motion. There's basically only a few different distinctions between kinds of curls. There is your standard curl, like a preacher, and then there is a hammer curl. The hammer curl is gonna hit more of the brachialis, which is the outside of the arm. It's gonna help a little bit with the width of the look of the arm. So essentially, there's 2 ways to hit a traditional curl. You can focus on lengthening, which would be to lean your torso back, or you can focus on the contraction, which is leaning your torso forward. You'll see Arnold hit kind of like these cheat preacher curls where he would stand and kind of lean forward. That's gonna really help with that contraction. You can also choose to sit on a bench and be leaned back, and that's gonna really help you to get a nice lengthening of the bicep. And then as far as getting a really solid contraction on a traditional curl, I'm gonna suggest that you try to twist your pinky in towards yourself. This is something that is pretty common knowledge right now, but if you've never heard it before, you know, the bicep is gonna contract as you twist your wrist. So you wanna focus on pulling the pinky in towards your face as you do the curl. That's gonna help you to contract the bicep more. A little pro tip, when it comes to doing hammer curls, it's kind of a cheat. It's a little bit easier to do than a traditional curl. So one thing that you can do if you want to try to push failure is if you're doing a traditional curl and you are burning out, you get to the point where you're pretty much done, switch to a hammer curl and it's gonna be a completely different movement for you. You'll be able to bust out a couple more reps. This is a nice way to cheat in a few more reps and really push your sets when it comes to building your biceps. I appreciate you for stopping by, watching the video. If you like this kind of content, hit that like button. It helps it to spread to other people. I post every Friday and I'll see you guys next week.